Alright, I'm just gonna say it. When Billie Piper said she'd come back to Doctor Who, something felt off. Not wrong, not dramatic, just off. Like someone smiling too much at a funeral. Like a secret hiding under good intentions. Now let me ask you something. Do you really believe Billie Piper doesn't already know if she's the next Doctor? Because the internet thinks she is. But the BBC is acting like it's never heard of her. I don't know about you, but when I heard her say, I'd come back, in that soft, knowing tone, my inner Whovian went full conspiracy mode. Because what if that moment wasn't nostalgia? What if it was damage control? What if Billie Piper just became the face of a last-ditch effort to save Doctor Who, while pretending she didn't? And worse, what if she knows exactly what's going on, and her comments were designed not to inform fans, but to distract them? Welcome to Bureau Gablem. I'm James Roxer, and today we're diving into the suspicious timing, cryptic interviews, disappearing ratings, and hidden deals that no one at the BBC wants you to talk about. Because this is more than just a reunion. This is the story of a show in crisis, and the icon it's trying to use to cover the cracks. Let's not sugarcoat it. Doctor Who is in trouble. The latest series with Ncuti Gatwa started strong, but the numbers don't lie. By the final episodes of Series 15, viewership had collapsed to just over 1.6 million in the UK. That's lower than any season since the 1980s. International buzz? Gone. Disney flood deal. In limbo. Spin-offs? Missing in action. Future season confirmed. Nope. And in the middle of that storm, Billie Piper suddenly says she would come back. Not that she has come back. Not that she's already involved. Just that she would. If you're not hearing the PR whisper in that moment, you're not listening hard enough. Let's timeline this, because the moment you see the dates side by side, it all gets a little too neat. May 2025 ratings for Empire of Death tank. June 2025. Disney begins renegotiating Doctor Who's streaming rights. July 2025 Billie Piper does a documentary interview. And accidentally slips she might return. And the fans, they go wild. Social media explodes. Articles start asking if she's the new Doctor. People rewatch The Parting of the Ways. Everything feels nostalgic again. Distracted, hopeful. But nobody asks the real question. Was that interview a leak or a smokescreen? Because right now, Doctor Who needs something it can't manufacture any more trust. And if they can't earn that through story, they'll try to earn it through memory. And this is exactly why I do these breakdowns. If you're the kind of fan who wants truth behind the branding, the raw reasons your favorite show suddenly changes tone, loses characters, or throws out timelines, then this is your channel. Subscribe to Bureau DWN right now. Because we don't chase the headlines. We chase what they're trying to hide behind them. Let's really break down Billie's statement. Not the vibe, the words. I would come back. Not returning. I've spoken to Russell. There's something coming. Just, I would. On paper, harmless, but in context, it's the perfectly engineered sentence. Vague enough to keep the BBC lawyers happy. Hopeful enough to get fans speculating. Nostalgic enough to mask the panic behind the scenes. Because here's the thing, Billie Piper is smart. She knows the show. She knows the fans. And most importantly, she knows what her face does to this fandom. Her just saying the word, return, can buy Doctor Who another 3 months of free PR coverage, without the BBC having to confirm a single thing. If you've seen my breakdown on Peter Capaldi's era, you'll remember I called out how the BBC used classic era callback PR every time ratings dipped. They brought back the Mundasian Cybermen. They did retro logos, even teased Susan Foreman. It worked. Temporarily. But the moment the story collapsed again, so did the audience. This Billie Piper moment. It's the exact same move, just upgraded. Instead of teasing a monster, they're teasing an emotion. They're repackaging your childhood. And hoping you don't notice the expiry date. I want to ask you. Be honest, do you think Billie Piper is the next Doctor? Or is this just nostalgia PR bait? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Say, Dr. Billie, real, or just a smokescreen, so I know who's watching closely. And if you're rewatching the finale scene, where Ncuti regenerates into her, tell me how you interpreted it. Because there's more confusion in that 1 minute of screen time than in the entire Chibnall era combined. let's talk about that regeneration. In Empire of Death, Kutigatwa vanishes in a white flash, and we see Billie Piper standing there. Not in Rose Tyler's clothes. Not in the bad wolf persona. Just there. Silent. Surrounded by vortex light. Looking straight at camera. And then no closing line. No confirmation. No trailer. No Doctor Who logo. And no press release the next day. Why? Because if they confirm it, it becomes canon. It becomes real. And they're not ready to commit to that? Why? Because they might not even know what's coming next. Because the future of Doctor Who might not be locked in. Because the whole thing may be a backdoor reboot in disguise. So we're left with the ultimate question: did Billie Piper just announce the future of Doctor Who? Or help cover up its collapse? That's not a dramatic question. That's the only question. Because her face is either the beginning of a bold new era, or the wallpaper covering a crumbling foundation. And either way, it tells us more about the show's true condition than any press junket ever could. Because in next of this video, I'm gonna show you the internal BBC survey that leaked right before this statement. The secret clause in the Disney deal that may have triggered this PR shift, and the forbidden casting plan for 2026 that would reboot the franchise using B generation as the backdoor. And here's the thing nobody really wants to admit about 2005's Doctor Who revival. It wasn't just a comeback. It was a controlled detonation. A beautiful, raging explosion of ambition. But now watching it again, you start to feel the cracks. The weight, the echoes of what the show almost became, but didn't. Let's go deeper. Remember when Rose called Mickey the idiot? It was a laugh back then. Now, rewatch it with 2025 eyes, and it feels harsh. Even Eccleston's Doctor, lovable as he is, occasionally slips into a tone that feels just a few shades too aggressive. I know. It was a different time. But doesn't that make it even weirder? That what once felt like innocent banter now lands like a thud in your chest. And we're not talking about cancel culture or nitpicking here. We're talking about emotional dissonance, the vibe shift, that gut level feeling of, wait, that line used to make me cheer, and now it just makes me wince. So here's the question: was the Ninth Doctor always this cold? Or were we just too distracted by the return of Daleks and Billie Piper in a crop top to notice? Look, I'll defend Camille Coduri until the end of time, but rewatching Jackie Tyler now is like realizing your favorite sitcom character's kind of a walking red flag. She's loud, over the top, nosy, and in 2005, that made her funny. In 2025, it makes her feel uncomfortably real. Like the mom you dodge at family events because she's about to corner you with questions about your dating life and the state of your fridge. There's a grit to Jackie, and when Rose abandons her, again and again, you don't laugh. You wince. You suddenly see her, not as comic relief, but as the collateral damage of the Doctor's cosmic romance. And if you're still here watching this is the moment you need to hit that subscribe button. Because on BRI-AQWN, we're not just rewatching episodes. We're peeling back the layers, cracking the timelines, and exposing the things even the BBC wouldn't dare to admit. So if you love brutal truths about your favorite shows, hit subscribe. And let's keep breaking things wide open, together. Now back to it. Here's a harsh truth I didn't want to face. And maybe you don't either. But sometimes the Ninth Doctor is mean. Not just grumpy. Not just tired. But emotionally distant in a way that feels personal. Rewatch Father's Day, or Boomtown. You'll notice how often Eccleston's Doctor talks over people. Diminishes them. Mocks their emotions while preaching about the sanctity of human life. And yes, he's traumatized. A soldier from the Time War. But isn't there something quietly chilling about how normal we found that back then? Maybe the real horror wasn't the Daleks. Maybe it was that we thought this broken, angry man was what hope looked like. And maybe, just maybe he was. When you rewatched Series 1, what hit you hardest? The pacing, the plastic effects, or was it something more subtle? Alignment. A look Eccleston gave that just didn't sit right anymore? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. Even the ones roasting me for calling Jackie a red flag. I get it. We all had our Jackie phase. And speaking of roastable moments, yes, I said it. The farting aliens episode, the Slithian in human skin suits, the CGI pig in a spacesuit, It was meant to be silly campy. Classic Who for a new generation. But rewatch it now. It feels like a fever dream. A corporate PowerPoint on how to almost ruin a good sci-fi show in under 45 minutes. We forgave it at the time because we were desperate. Desperate for new Who. Now? It's the episode that makes you sit back and wonder, how did this show survive after that? But here's the wild part. It's important. Aliens of London reminds us what Doctor Who used to risk. Before Disney. Before streaming. When it was just one weird idea away from total collapse. That's courage. Stupid, gassy pig. In space courage. Look, I was shipped into the Rose X Doctor fandom harder than anyone. But when you watch it now, 20 years later, there's something off about it. Eccleston's Doctor clearly loves her. But she's 19. He's 900. And it's not just the age thing, it's the power imbalance. The way he pulls her away from her life. Her friends, her mother. And it's framed like a fairy tale. But watching it again, you start seeing the breadcrumbs. The slow erosion of Rose's identity. The same pattern the 10th Doctor continues until it destroys her. Remember what I said in part 1? Every modern Doctor Who romance starts with Series 1. Every mistake they made later was already coded in the foundation. If Rose had traveled with the 10th Doctor first, would we still like her? Or did Eccleston's tragedy make her human, before David Tennant's heartbreak made her legend? Let me know below. One week it's the horrors of WUI. The next, it's green aliens in Parliament. Then ghosts. Then nuclear panic. Then Cardiff. It's a roller coaster, and don't get me wrong. I love a show that swings. But rewatching it now, back to back to back, you realize how unstable it feels. That wild fluctuation in tone wasn't just creative risk, it was identity crisis. It's as if the show didn't know what it wanted to be. Saturday morning cartoon, deep post-war allegory, edgy teenage drama. Maybe it wanted to be everything. And in doing so, risked becoming nothing. But you know what keeps it grounded? Eccleston. That's the paradox. The thing nobody talks about. The same Doctor who sometimes feels cold, aggressive, or disconnected, is the only reason the chaos doesn't collapse. That leather jacket. That northern growl. It anchors the madness. Even when the show forgets itself, and yet, this is the hardest pill to swallow. Eccleston left too soon. 1 season, 13 episodes, then gone. No final arc, no farewell special, no return in the day of the Doctor. He was the Doctor, and then he wasn't. And the silence since. Deafening. And now, watching it again, you feel that loss more than ever. Not just because he was good, but because his absence left a wound the show never truly healed from. And in some timeline, maybe we got season 2 with him. Maybe he stood next to David Tennant in the 50th. Maybe he was the face of the Time War flashbacks. But not in this one. And if that stings, you're not alone. Because there's something deeper happening here. A pattern beneath the nostalgia. A secret buried inside the edits. Next time, we're going to pull back the curtain. We're going to reveal why the Eccleston era didn't just launch modern Who. It trapped it. And I promise you're not ready. We thought the Eccleston era was the beginning. The triumphant reboot. The clean slate. But the deeper you dig, rewatching it with the cold eyes of hindsight, you begin to see it differently. Not as a beginning, but as the template. The curse. The blueprint the show has never stopped rewriting, and never fully escaped. Let's go even deeper. When the 9th Doctor vanished in a golden burst of time energy, it was more than just a regeneration. It was a creative severing. An actor gone. A tone lost. A war unresolved. And here's the twist few want to say out loud: Eccleston was the only Doctor the show didn't allow to evolve. No time for a second season. No arc. No exploration of his recovery from the Time War. He's angry in Rose. He's slightly less angry in The Parting of the Ways. And then gone. And yet, his shadow still walks the series. Why do you think Tennant was haunted? Why do you think Smith smiled so much it hurt? Why did Capaldi wear the same face and ask why? Because Eccleston never got to answer those questions. So, the show has been answering them ever since. This is the part nobody talks about. BBC executives were betting on David Tennant, not Christopher Eccleston. He was a stopgap. A gritty gateway to get skeptical audiences back into the TARDIS before they wheeled out the pretty boy. But something happened. We fell in love with the one we weren't supposed to. The broken soldier. The angry doctor who smiled like it hurt. The one who was terrified of himself. And that love. It scared the BBC. Because they weren't ready for a doctor like that to work. They didn't want to commit to the pain he carried. They wanted magic. Fun. Quirky monologues and meme-able gifs. So they buried him in time vortex fire and moved on. But fans, we never really did. Here it is. The dark heart of everything we've been dancing around. The Ninth Doctor was the most human, and least human, doctor of them all. He laughed like a man remembering what joy feels like. He danced because he'd forgotten how. He cried without tears. And when he told Rose she made him better, you believed it. Because he meant it. And yet, he kept secrets. He dismissed Mickey. He dropped harsh truths with a shrug. He could walk away from death and never look back. And this paradox has infected every doctor since. Think about it. Every regeneration since has been more emotionally fraught than the last. 10 didn't want to go. 12 begged to stop. 13 exploded into 2. And 15 regenerated into Billie Piper, the very echo of Series 1 itself. The show can't stop revisiting the trauma of that first season. Because Series 1 wasn't just about recovering from the Time War. It was about recovering from cancellation, from failure, from irrelevance. And now, 20 years later, as rumors swirl about streaming shakeups, declining viewership, and Disney stepping back, it feels like we're right back at the beginning. The show is wounded again. And who did it call on? Billie. Bloody Piper. Because even now, Doctor Who is chasing the ghost of Series 1. The truth, the Ninth Doctor didn't die in the show. Creative clashes. Production chaos. Eccleston walking away without a wave. We never saw his face again. Not in specials. Not in team-ups. Not even in flashbacks. RTD wouldn't recast him. Moffat barely mentioned him. Chibnall tried once, in hologram form. And that absence. It haunts every anniversary. Every all-Doctor moment that isn't quite all. Even now, as the franchise bleeds fans post-season 15. The silence from Eccleston's era is thunderous. Like a scar that never healed. Watching it now, you realize something chilling. This isn't a time capsule. It's a cautionary tale. A reminder of what happens when bold ideas are abandoned too quickly. When trauma is aestheticized and never resolved. When storytelling is driven by fear, not trust. The Ninth Doctor could have been a 5-season epic. He could have grown, softened, fought his ghosts. But instead, he was sealed in amber. And the show. It's been spinning in circles ever since. Let's be clear. The Christopher Eccleston era is still brilliant. It saved the show. It made us feel again. But it also built a fragile foundation. Because it taught the BBC and Russell T Davies something dangerous, that you can kill your doctor before the story even begins. And fans will still cheer. And that lesson? It has echoed through every rushed regeneration, every dramatic cliffhanger, every shocking twist since. If all this sounds like a downer, if it hurts to hear, then good. Because it should hurt. It means you felt something watching Series 1. You saw the cracks, the beauty, the fire. You believed. And in the end, that's what Eccleston gave us. Not just a doctor, but the blueprint for how to survive pain and keep running anyway. And even now, even 20 years later, we're still running. If this breakdown hit you where it hurts, subscribe. Because we're not done digging. There are more ghosts in the TARDIS. More timelines to uncover. More secrets to say out loud. The Ninth Doctor was never supposed to last. But here we are. Still haunted. Still wondering. And that's what BREAWN is here for.